So excited to be here today. Uh, Wanted to welcome Beverly Glazer, who will be here shortly, I hope. And am very excited about our show today, which is focused on abundance as the key word. And always look forward to comments from the audience as well as opportunities to answer any questions you might have, and really are open to, again, uh, any thoughts you might have to help our show become more relevant, as well as, give you some quality takeaways. With that said, if you're out in the audience, be great to see you identify yourself, and also any questions you might have on abundance. Well, we've got Carrie here right now. Carrie says the cake was feeling emotional. It was in tears. That's a good one, Carrie. And Carrie's been a guest on this show as far as in the audience for quite a bit now, and always brings a sense of humor with them. Um, really focused on abundance today, and everybody has their own take on what abundance is. Some people look at it materially, some people look at it emotionally, spiritually. Yeah, it has so much aligned with so many aspects of life in general. And, as you get more experience and become more aware, the materialistic nature of it tends to dissipate, and relationship to the physical and mental well-being that can be achieved through having an abundance mentality. Um, and with that said, a lot of people who come from scarcity feel like they've never had enough or never will have enough, uh, tend to project that in their everyday life. Those who are more focused on, satisfaction, and come from a land of abundance, always feel like it's great to focus in that. Uh, and actually, we've got Harvey with us, and good to be here. If Beverly is not on today, well, hopefully Beverly is just having some challenges, but be happy to have Harvey join us for a minute or two if he chooses to. I'll send Harvey the link. So Carrie has another comment. Let me put it up on the screen. I'm trying to have the abundance I know. Um, I know I have. It's been difficult for me. I thought I had the job in the bag. Company is still working on background checks. Usually they're fast. Not sure what they're looking for. Uh, Let me see. And I just got a comment from Beverly. I think there's just an issue with trying to connect. So let me see if I can reach out to Beverly. It's always interesting, these shows. You just never know. So let me, okay. So Beverly says she's in the waiting room. I'm going to start over. I think that, or let me do this. So many things. Um, Had a scene. Let me go to this. Okay, still looking for Beverly. Let me see where we are at this point. Boy, this is a little confusing. I'm trying to keep an eye on this. So let me go to my restream. So everybody's having a practical class in what to do when things aren't working very well. Um, Let me go to that and then enter here. Sorry for the inconvenience that we're having today. So, okay, let me go here. Hmm. Well, let me. Hi, Beverly.
Am I in? Oh gosh.
Yeah, you're definitely in. It was probably my fault, but I'm glad to have you uh, because I was going here and there and everywhere. So always a pleasure. Beverly always makes things that are challenging less challenging when her presence is here. But I'm sure it was all my fault or Restream. I know Beverly tries really hard. So Beverly, so glad to see you. What can you say about abundance?
Well, um, well, first of all, I knew that eventually I'd get in. Okay. So we could start with that because we have a mindset of either scarcity or abundance, right? And when you have an abundant mindset, um, you know that something good is going to come out of it. Okay. It's almost like an automatic. And when people think of abundance, we always think of wealth. We always think of having more money. We always think of money, 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 abundant life, blah, blah. And it's not about that at all. So, as you started really well, Dawn, our theme today, our keyword is abundance. And for those of you who do not know me, um, I coach high performing women who have an extremely abundant life. They are successful. They have um, all kinds of wonderful things going on in your life from your outside, right? But we always want more. And for most of these women, if not all of them, it's finding a purpose that goes past where that money is. So, once again, I'm Beverly Glazer. You can find me here on LinkedIn. You can find me on reinventimpossible.com. I'm everywhere. You can find me. Say hi. And what we're talking about, I want to hear from you. I want you to ask questions because it is all about mindset. It really is. If you're always thinking you do not have, or there's more to have, or I am fearful that I'm not going to perform well, all these stories you're telling yourself are going to put you in that scarcity mindset, exactly what you're thinking. And so, what we're talking about here, it's Thanksgiving. Let's face it, it's coming up. It's not for us. I'm in Canada and we celebrated Thanksgiving, but everywhere all over the world, we have Thanksgiving. We have times to be grateful. And gratitude helps you with abundance. No matter where you are in your life, when you're grateful for what you have, because we can always have less, can't we? Then when we're grateful, and that appreciation makes you feel enough. Isn't this good? Or you could have it all when you look in as a fly on the wall. And what you see is, oh, wow, they have an absolutely wonderful life. But each person is thinking, I wish I didn't have to be here. I really hate these people. It's like this forced feeling that I have to share, I have to do. Abundance is that feeling of openness. Abundance is that feeling of giving. And you don't have to have much to have the feeling of abundance. You can give. And so it's, I believe, a wonderful word for the day, because the more you give, and I'm not going to say it, but I am saying it, the more you do get back, but you don't do it for that purpose. You do it for giving, you do it for helping, you do it because you're a person, and you do it because you can. And if you can't, I'm telling you right now, don't do it. Because then what you're doing is you're trying very hard to do something that's beyond, and you have to know what your limitations are. So everything you should do, it should be with joy. It should be with a feeling of goodness. It's a feeling that, I can. That's an abundant mindset. So I'm going to pass it on to you, Dawn, although I have to say you were doing really well without me. That's great. And I was
No,
so
well,
I'm here, Dawn. I'm here. Me.
no, and I always believe in you, Beverly, and I'm glad I was looking like I was doing so good, because I guess I was masquerading what I was feeling, because you don't know if it's you, if it's the machine, if it's the connection. You never know, and that does help with appreciation and gratitude when things are just working. They don't have to work good; they just have to work
Exactly.
to be important. And to take off of what Beverly mentioned, uh, everything is different for everybody. So what's abundant to somebody is being poor to somebody else, and vice versa. So everything is relative and conditional. And abundant typically would mean having a lot, or having more than you might need. And I think there's a distinction between needing, wanting, having, and enjoying. And just to have and not have time for it, or not have pleasure with it, discounts it. And some people don't know when to stop. They've already gotten where they need to be, but for some reason, maybe out of habit, they just keep going. So, you know, I know that everything projects and also attracts. And if you're coming from an open heart, a generous spirit, and you can provide abundance in time, in attention, in thought, not all of it has to be in something you can count or something that you can hold.
Mhm.
But if you have a overflowing spirit of generosity or a kindness, that's something that people can't just acquire. You can win the lottery and get a lot of money and put it into a lot of things, but it won't change you. It may change you for the worse. So, a lot of people, they say money makes good people better and bad people worse. Just want to recognize another one of our clan,
Hey.
Kelly. So great to have you. Good morning, y'all. And when it's y'all, that's the authentic Kelly. I had invited Harvey on, and he was
Oh,
great
Harvey.
No,
to be with us. And I know Harvey has a show that follows this. So any time with Harvey is good time, whether it's on this show or Harvey's show. Harvey is the poster child for success on LinkedIn, and especially live streaming.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always taking notes from Harvey's show, and he has
not so much the child anymore. These grey hairs poking through my chin.
well, it makes you more distinguished. So, Harvey, I know you only got a few minutes to spend with us. What's your initial thoughts on abundance?
Well, I've been busy listening to both of your thoughts on abundance, and heartily agree with that. When you look at the raw description of the word abundance, it's having a lot of something, and I think I like what you said just now, Don, about the fact that having a lot of something can change you for better or for worse. And it was interesting to hear about talking about money, and that certainly does make good people better and bad people worse, typically, or that I've seen. If you give two individuals $1 million, well, let's say £1 million, as I'm here, and one was a delightfully wonderful human being, and the other was a not so much, they would do very different things with it. That abundance would change people. But I think you can have an abundance of emotions, and if you've got an abundance of a particular emotion or skill, it can really be a credit to you. I think it's a really interesting word. I remember my father always saying to me about having everything in moderation is better. I'm not so good at it. I tend to be all in with various things. And an abundance perhaps suggests, being quite extreme in one and having highs and lows perhaps. But a really interesting topic. And I was only here, Beverly, in case you couldn't make it today. I'm not wishing to hijack your wonderful
No, welcome. Okay.
I remember when I started one of my shows and my guests couldn't be there, and Don is a seasoned professional at this and taught me everything I know, but I also relate to, this is a conversation we always have, and it's a conversation not just between the three of us or before I turned up between the two of you, but a conversation between a community, between the audience. And when it's just one person, the dynamic changes. So in this case, an abundance of wonderful people and an abundance of community makes all the difference, and I think changes us all for the better.
Yeah.
Well, that was very, very profound, Harvey, and appreciated. And moving back to Beverly, because abundance really, to kind of set it up for Beverly, is based on the universe of whatever you're working with. And if it's just a singular thing, it can't be that abundant. If there's only one thing, only one person can hold it at a time or take advantage of it. But if you're talking a community, like you say, Harvey, and a network with millions, maybe even 1 billion people, now it's up to the individual to see how they can source it and access it and put it into some sort of application. So, Beverly, had a whole go round. This is the most dynamic show I've ever had, where I don't know what's happening next. Go ahead, Beverly, please.
Well, what Harvey touched on was just perfect, because Harvey just jumped in and with his generosity, and that generosity leads to abundance. And Kelly jumped in, and when Harvey was talking about community, that's what abundance is all about. Abundance is really about joy. It's not about money. You can have an awful lot of money and not feel that you have enough. And so mentally, you're actually always seeking more. And if you keep on seeking more and more and more, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with growth. As a matter of fact, I'm constantly going for the gold and the super gold and how much better I could be. But you also have to check back and take a look at where you've come from and how far you've gone and appreciate that. When you have that sense of appreciation, you feel good. And yeah, there's always more. So when we slow down, for instance, this Thanksgiving week in the States, you also have to keep thinking too. Just think about it. There's Black Friday, there's Cyber Monday. So here we are, we're all grateful, but more, 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 more. Let's grab all we can. And so there's really a conflict there as to when to slow down, when to really appreciate, and how much we have to stop also and say, where am I going with this? And this has to be about our why. What is our purpose? Why are we there? What is this family time all about? And when you are in an abundant mindset, you know whatever it is, it's going to be okay. It doesn't have to be great. It has to be okay. And on the spiritual realm, what they would say is, the universe will provide, or, your higher power will provide. That is an abundant mindset. It's the feeling that it is good enough and somehow I'll make it work. And so we have to start looking in so many different directions. And the whole bottom line is it is mindset. And when you popped in, it's like, yes. And I saw you in the comments, although I was frustrated here in the back room. Tell them I'm here. but it really is all about that. And when I noticed Carrie's comment right here, and Carrie's been looking for a job and being deflated and unmotivated so many times, and true to an abundant mindset, often, very often, when you go into a community and you volunteer your time in an area that people start looking at you. And when there is a job opening, even when you're not asking for the job, they will offer. They will offer to help you one way or another. So my suggestion right here, Carrie, because you come here every day and you are someone who is there for people, you really are, that will show. And though that motivation will show to others. And so stop looking for the job. And that's for everybody too. Stop looking for what you want. What can you give? What value do you have to offer? And once you offer that value, things grow. And this is exactly what happened to your show, Harvey. You know, the franchise show. What am I offering? Okay. Well, people start saying, hey, I'm interested in that. And when you're interested, you're asking for nothing. Just listen. And what happens is when you give value, people listen and people share. And that's what you're looking for. You will always get what you want as long as you give. And unconsciously, don't give it with a conscious, because that doesn't work, by the way. People see, it can see right through that, You have to be sincere in what you do. And when you offer, that's an abundant mindset. Think about the trees. Think of all the leaves. They keep growing. They keep falling. They keep going back, okay, to use an analogy. And it's abundant, okay? Same with us. But our small little minds, our squirrely little heads start thinking negative. It's never going to happen. I'm not going to have money for that. No. Yes, go there. Be realistic. However, how can I change it? That's the twist that we all have. An abundance. Walk into a store, any store. You can say, wow, there's so much to choose from. For a lot of people, this is overwhelming. I don't even want to go there. How many different colors? If you just give me 2 shades of white, that'll be good when I'm painting my wall. Okay. How many different shades of white do you need? Okay. Well, let me tell you. Okay. Too much of abundance is not a good thing either, although I do love color. Okay. So what you also have to do is your value. What do you need? What is your why? And if you're helping and if you're doing for others, believe it or not, the problems that you have are not as big. Okay. There's always someone else. So now is a perfect time, Carrie, to go out there, volunteer wherever you are. And there's always people. There's such a shortage of volunteers. It's terrible. So, just do what you can and have that abundant mindset, things will grow just like those leaves. Okay.
Well, that's an excellent point, Beverly. And what I see is we talk about presence, especially with Christmas coming up,
Mhm.
and it's being present that you can enjoy the presence in your life, right? People have family, and some people are really good at giving them material things, but no attention. Or
Mhm.
when they give it to them, it's an off situation. Well, here it is. I hope you enjoy it.
Mhm.
Versus, let me talk about it with you. Let me share it with you. And then Kelly brings up a great point, and Kelly always does because she always comes from love and support, an abundance of love and support right there. And that's so true because your abundance is based on your relationship.
Mhm.
If you don't have and someone close to you has, it's almost as good as you having it because you'll know they'll let you take advantage of it when possible. And sharing is caring. And, there's another saying, it's lonely at the top. The last thing you want to do is be super successful and look at the mirror and only you are standing there. Who are you going to celebrate it with? Who are you going to thank for it? And who are you going to continue on from it? Because I've seen in my days ups and downs, and money comes and money goes. But quality friendships and relationships always stay. And just like Harvey was more than happy to pitch in today, no different than I'd be looking for the opportunity to help Harvey if he got into a challenge. And Kelly was right there, right? And Kelly would have jumped right on the screen too. And that gives you a feeling of abundance because you're not alone. Being lonely, being alone, no matter what you have, it only makes it worse. What if you could do anything, but you had no one to do it with? How much fun would you have taking a trip to anywhere without looking next to yourself and say, "What'd you think?" Or tell me what I didn't see here. And it's really partnering, trying to be the lone wolf, the one person left on the mountain. That sounds good for action movies, but in everyday life, it's not something you really shoot for. So, Harvey, I know you've seen your share of experiences and have become wiser for them, in my opinion. What thoughts do you have on what we are just talking about?
I'm not sure if I'm wise yet, but certainly I'm surrounded by wonderful, wise people. But I think first of all, I wanted to join with Beverly in the support for Carrie as well. And I know that Carrie is going through a bit of a tough time there. I've added him to my list on Sundays where I help people that are looking for a job. And we have an abundance of support there, and lots of great ideas, lots of fantastic people to connect with. And yeah, I second the motion of what you've said there. To focus on what you do have rather than just trying to find that job. I think it's really important because Carrie's got a fantastic sense of humor, which is really, really valuable in most roles. So I think anyone would be lucky to have them. I also liked the fact that Kelly said their next Tuesday is Giving Tuesday, and I didn't know that. So
Oh
that's nice.
yeah.
Um, and I think that sort of takes me to something you said, Beverly, which I thoroughly agreed with, which is if you give without any expectation of anything in return, just through the sheer joy of giving, then good things just happen through that natural process. So I think if you have an abundance of a giving nature, then you're going to do really well. Um, and I think, Don, what you said there about being lonely at the top, if you have trodden on everybody to get to the top, who are you going to celebrate it with? Especially in business, it can be lonely. I talk about this a lot in franchising because in franchising you have a network of other franchisees and you have a franchisor who's supporting you. So you have this unique opportunity to grow a business and not be alone doing that. You have a network to do that. So I think they're all really fantastic points. And I'm really sorry, but I do have to shoot off now. And also, I didn't want to hijack your wonderful show. I love listening to it, Beverly. So
Well,
I can't listen to your.
thank you so much, Harvey. I want to propose that everybody, if you haven't seen Harvey's show, give it a try, whether you're into franchise or not. It still has great wisdom and insights from some wonderful people. And
Carl's on today.
Carl's on today?
Yeah.
Good for Carl. He was on before the show and actually has another show on Wednesdays. Once a month, it's about Belize. On Thursdays, it's about community redevelopment. And I'm starting to get more involved with a lot of what Carl's doing. And that's the beauty of shows like this, is it gives you an entryway to get to know people and get to know about what they do. And in time, there's usually a fit for something that now you can continue to build a stair step approach, but do it in a quality way. And last thing I'll say to Carrie is work as if you're getting paid more than you ever thought, even if you're getting nothing. And eventually people will see that and pay you what you deserve, right? Too many people say, well, they're only paying this, I'm only going to do that. No, do as much as you can, do all you can to impress people, to surprise people in a good way. And one last thing I'll say, always do things on a review basis. Just start at anything and say, okay, I'm happy to start and show what I'm worth. In 60 days, let's talk about it. So we actually do deal with that. So Harvey, I know we got to run. I'm always appreciative of any time we spend together and look forward to bigger and better times together. So with that, carry on, Harvey.
See you later.
Thank you so much. And I think that kind of demonstrates the evidence of having strong relations, because if you keep doing for others unselfishly, without keeping score, without saying, well, it's 3 times I bought lunch and they haven't bought it yet. Well, 2 things you should do is stop counting or stop going to lunch with that person.
Exactly.
Because obviously you're finding they're not worth the price of a sandwich or whatever. But most of the time, the game is between you and yourself. And if you're not happy, you have to ask yourself, what am I looking at that seems to be growing, but it's not giving me any satisfaction? It's not giving me any comfort. And there's so many people who are now adopting more of a minimalistic way of life. Why? Not because they don't like things, but because the more things you have, the more things have you, right? Have 10 cars and now you got to take care of 10 cars. Have a huge house and now you got to make sure to keep it. Just have what you need. And sometimes a good old book is enough to make you feel happy, to make you feel abundant. Sometimes just a cup of tea, and a reflection time would make the difference, and I think so many people build silos of different size that they forget they're imbalanced. Well, I've got so much money, but I can't seem to keep a relationship, or no one seems to want to be my friend, and I think when people look outward for things instead of inward for things, everything starts changing, because some people are living their life under other people's wishes. My dad said I always had to be an engineer, and he was an engineer. So I'm going to be an engineer and I'm going to please him. But maybe that's not for you. And so it's really being able to question, but having good friends, having a support vehicle that you can lean into, somebody who's looking at things maybe you're not, and is honest enough and you're open enough to hear it, would affect you in a good way, because it matters. People you care about, you care what they think, you care what they feel, and you don't want to hurt anybody. And sometimes it's everybody's responsibility to say, by the way, I don't know if you're aware or maybe you are, but this didn't seem like the right approach. Could we talk about it? And I think through conversations come understanding, and abundance is something that you have confidence in. Even today's show, there was nothing that said, wow, This is the end of the world. And you know why? Because I know Beverly well, and I know the audience well. And nobody's sitting there looking at mistakes. They're just looking at good tidbits and nuggets of wisdom. So, Beverly, back.
Oh, you dropped so many nuggets. Okay. And one of the things, one nugget that I thought of when you were talking was um, a coaching client that I have that um, has a lot. But when I use the word an awful lot, okay, let's just go there, okay. And when I use the word abundance, and I really did, she was in shock. It was like, oh, you hear that on social media a lot, abundance, abundance, abundance. But when I use that word, because she's looking for her purpose now that she's reached a particular area of her life. And the word I used was what you're looking for is the abundance. That's the feeling, right? That's that I've arrived feeling. Isn't that wonderful? And it'll come and go, but you have to kind of know where it is before you even identify it, right? And she went off with some girlfriends to Portugal. And if anyone has gone to Italy or Portugal or, you know, any place in Europe where you have sunshine and food and wine. And one of the places that they went to was, it was basically somebody's kitchen that was more or less like a restaurant. And here they were, and it was really them and a couple of other people. And she just looked at this table and she said, when she came back, she says, Bev, I felt that abundance. And when she said that, I said, yes. How many times do we go, do we travel, do we do, or even Thanksgiving when there's all kinds of food and people and fun, et cetera, and you're exhausted and you've been cleaning and you've been cooking. And although you like doing it, you don't feel very abundant at all. You also feel that I'm glad it's over. Okay. That's the kind of balance that you need to put into your life. Okay. Yes, you're going to be tired, but exhausted, having to do everything. That should be a no. All right. Or you won't feel abundant. And this is the problem with women in particular who have high powered jobs, who have to take care of family, who have to take care of perhaps extended family, and who knows what. You know, if you feel you have to do it all and you're exhausted or you're overworked or you should because there's no one else that will, the abundance has gotten out of that. So always, always, always think of what you can do, what you can designate. You do not have to do it all. And you should also feel that just because you can do it, will it give you pleasure? And I'm just going to add another little touch to it because this is exactly the same coaching client who said to me, and Christmas is coming. And my stepdaughter asked me for a wagon for her son. And she's having this kind of repartee with this stepdaughter in the first place. And she said, I don't mind giving a wagon, but this wagon was $1,500.
Mhm.
I said, I didn't even know they made a wagon for $1,500. I'm thinking of a radio flyer. Like, that was good enough. you know, and that's the point. Okay. She said, I would gladly give it, but I said, really? Gladly? And then she said, no, I would give it, but I would resent it. Okay. So this is another thing you have to think of when we're thinking of giving. All right. I can. But what am I teaching my, stepdaughter? Continue to be nice to me and I will continue to give because I can, but I won't. Okay. So is that a scarcity mindset? No. Is that an abundant mindset? No. But what it is just basically common sense, like what you were saying, Dawn. Going out for somebody once, twice, three times, and you continue to pay and they don't reciprocate at all. Like, what's going on here? Not that you need it, not that you want it. But what it is to have an abundant mindset, you have to feel good to start with. So if that turkey dinner from Multitudes is not going to make you feel good, you have to cut back. You have to perhaps get other people or to help you out or order in or do what it takes. And then you can share the wealth too, just like that table that was spread in Portugal and everybody's just looking and having fun and eating and laughing and saying, wow, isn't this wonderful that we were able to do this and share and give and have such a good time. So abundance is that feeling. It's not what you have, what you own. It's nothing like that. It's that feeling that I'm grateful. I'm happy with just where I am right now. It is enough. And so enough said. Done.
No, there's never enough that Beverly can say because no, she really is quality on every thought and expression, and it demonstrates. I want to recognize Petra, who I haven't seen in a
Oh,
while.
yes. Great.
Great to see you, Petra. Petra says, absolutely agree with you, and that's great. To take off on what Beverly was saying, how many times have you gone on great trips and you can't wait to get home?
Yeah.
Or once you're home, it's so good to be in my own bed, be in my own kitchen, not have to be in a restaurant ordering eggs every morning and waiting for them. And, I think what you find is you shouldn't change as you make changes. So, to give you an example, we had done a Far East trip one time, went to Thailand for a week and Hong Kong for a week. And I'm not that adventurous, and we were staying in these beautiful Shangri-La hotels with you press a button, there's somebody on your floor, and I didn't know what the button was, and people are knocking, and it's the valet or whatever they call that individual. Can I help you? Can I get something for you? And same thing on cruise ships. And at a certain point, I don't want people putting my toothpaste over here and my toothbrush every time I leave, and you get some of that. So why not just take who you are with you instead of try to be somebody you're not?
Mhm.
Why not enjoy what's enjoyable? Some people would be happy with an egg salad sandwich as opposed to a steak dinner, but they're ashamed to say, well, I just want to have an egg salad sandwich or a peanut butter sandwich when, wow, look at the buffet, look at the menu, look at what you could have. And I think having self control goes a long way towards being abundant. Is saying that's all I need. You take the rest, or it's okay. I remember on the cruise, I keep talking about travel for some reason. They had a midnight, like
Oh,
big deal, right? And the captain's dressed up and you're dressed up. And I was saying to Ann, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't care how many free lobsters are given away. I don't care for it, and I think that's a sign of maturity and appreciating abundance is when enough is enough, that you don't have to get it because it's free or because it's available. And I think if you're true to yourself, you can be much truer to other people. And generosity, and it could be just opening a door for somebody. It doesn't mean a $1,500 wagon, because when Beverly was saying that, I was thinking, well, a radio flyer, 30, $40. Anybody should be able to have one. But if someone said 1,500, I would almost feel like it's a disservice because you're starting somebody at the ultimate top. Where are they going to go from there? where if you really want a wagon, start with a wagon. And if you get really good at it, maybe move to a nicer wagon. Eventually, you'll be too old for wagons, and that will take care of itself. But it's really the questioning is just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Just because someone needs something you can provide, and in some ways, saying no is a better lesson for everybody. Or, and I'll just reflect when I was raising my kids, and you always feel kinda obligated to come through, and kids would always, especially toys, like, "I need this, I want this, all this stuff." And in the beginning, I was really logical and realistic and say, "Well, it's really not worth the money, or we really can't afford it at this point, it doesn't make sense." But then I'm thinking, all I'm doing is apologizing for my inability to do it, until I turned it around and said, "None of you deserve anything here." If you want it, do something to achieve it. Show me that you wanted it by helping around the house or doing something or whatever. And things changed because now the responsibility shifted, not from what I want, but what do you deserve? And that's usually the way life works. And I always told my kids, I can't give you a false reality. I may be able to provide for you for a while, and if I was here forever, I'd do everything for you, but one day you're gonna have to take care of it, and one day you may have your own kids, and it'd be great to have some experience, and I think you're a teacher in almost everything you do and say, and how
Mhm.
you respond to people, which is not to say negative or positive, it's conditional. Right? If someone needed medicine and couldn't get to the drugstore, well, that's a different situation. But if someone says, "Well, I got 12 fur coats, but they got a new color out this week," maybe someone will appreciate that and support them. In most cases, I would probably say, "Why?" And I think that's a big question where people don't say, is not judgment, but why? Why do you need an extra one? And maybe you got a good reason. But that's okay because so many people who have so much never have restrictions. I actually
Mhm.
saw a Rolls Royce last night on some social media, only one of a kind. And a typical Rolls Royce is about 330,000. This one was called the billionaire Rolls Royce, and it was going for $1 million. And it had, lettering and this and special leather. But geez, it's a car. Right? It takes you from one place to another. At one point, do you need to spend 700,000 extra just to have the only one, you
Mhm.
know? And some people, yeah, some people no, and I applaud people because, the thing about being irresponsible with money, it doesn't last long unless you have a way of filling it back up, and that's why lottery winners end up broke because they never learned anything about money or how to handle, and that's why they never had it until someone gave them a bunch of it, and then they're swimming in it. And it almost, to most lottery winners I've read, their life got so much worse because they couldn't live in the old world anymore, and they couldn't move into the new world, so they ended up in limbo somewhere. And life is too short to make big excursions in the wrong direction. And sometimes you can't come back. And that, sometimes left a dock and you're not going to go back to that dock. So, not to put trepidation into anybody, but really to say, be grateful for what you have. I was with friends yesterday and we met for lunch, and this one friend of ours, a gentleman, is having some really serious health issues.
Mhm.
And it was right on the campus, and we ate lunch there. Uh, and you forget what your worries are. You forget
Mhm.
about what your inadequacies are when someone's really fighting for their life, and it puts things in perspective. And they say a smart person learns from their own mistakes, but a great person learns from other people's mistakes. And having compassion, having empathy is a great way of being abundant because whenever you're in a tough situation, it's nice when people give you a little extra space, honor you a little bit more, And I think that's the gift, especially in the season coming up, because, I was in retail for so many years and it was so exciting, but it was so stressful. And at the end, it was just, it reached a climax. And the worst part was the following day and everything fell off. All your sales stop, the refunds start coming in, and and everything else. So it kind of makes you feel like enjoy it as you go. Don't get ahead of yourself. And I think sharing is caring, like I say, and providing for other people, because you never know when you're going to be in that situation. And you want it to be heartfelt and generous and thoughtful. You don't want someone to say, "Oh, you got a problem, here's a check." That might solve some of it, but it's kind of given like, "Hey, I don't need it that bad," or "You need it more than me." I was at someone's house growing up, and the mother was serving us food, and she was weighing everybody's portion, and I couldn't believe it. Like, you get 3 ounces of roast beef, and she'd have a scale, and I'm thinking, "Gosh, it must be hard up to care for this roast beef that much if it's gonna be, a sacred scarcity." So,
Mhm.
Beverly, before I go off in some other
No, but that is so true. It's really that scarcity mindset, or the mindset that just because I have, I can flaunt it. And it's one thing if you're a celebrity, perhaps, and that's just part of your business, and it's literally a business expense. And you're going to have all these people in the paparazzi say, "Look at this Rolls Royce, blah blah blah," and she got it, and she did it, and blah blah, and whatever. She has this special Birkin bag, or whatever. Okay, if there is a purpose to this madness, go ahead, be my guest. I'm not judging. But the difference is when you feel you have to be a person. So, in other words, when you were bringing up that coat, you know, it's like, and I don't even want to say mink because it's an animal. And that is maybe not looked at as, at least in Canada. No, no, no. Okay. But whatever it is that status symbol. When you feel you have to have it to be part of your group, that's a whole other story. And I think I mentioned this story because it's just so appropriate, and I'm mentioning it again, where I had this coaching client who said, you know, "Do you have a chiclet, Beverly?" I gave my wife a chiclet, and to me, I thought of a piece of gum, chiclet, but I could easily put that together thinking of a ring. And what it was a diamond, the size literally of a chiclet. Okay. And I'm talking diamond, I'm talking not all these other whatever knocked up diamonds there are. Plus, on the back of the ring, the entire ring, was really beautiful baguette diamonds. And so she never wore the chiclet really out because people would probably not even think it's real, but turned it around and it was a magnificent ring anyway. And I said to him, his name was Harvey, I said, "Harvey, you're always complaining about your wife. Like, why did you do that?" And he said, "Because all her friends have chiclets, and she's been talking about chiclets for months and months and months. And so I gave her a darn chiclet so she would just shut up for a while." Those were the words. Okay. So, is that an abundant mindset? Are these people happy? No, they're living in hell. Okay. Do they have a lot? Absolutely. They have lots and lots and lots. Okay. But abundance is really not about money. Are they happy with each other? Does she appreciate it coming from him? No. Okay. Absolutely not. But she wants it. And why? Because it compensates for all the stuff that he does not give her. And believe me, there's lots. Okay. And that's what we're talking about here. Gratitude has nothing to do with it. When you're grateful for what you have, you open up your heart to abundance. And one way of cultivating that is to find three little things. And it's always three because it's just harder the more you do it. Okay. And if you do it every day, some people put little gratitude notes in a jar, and it sounds really silly, but, and it sounded very silly to me when I heard it. But apparently, at the end of the year, 365 days, you dump your gratitude jar and you look back. Okay. And when you do that, you say, you start to see all the many things you're grateful for. And health, for instance, Dawn, when you meet somebody and you say, gee, I take my, I have all these pains, but it's nothing compared to, okay? And I'm grateful for what I have because there's so much worse. And when it's in your face, that's when gratitude and abundance shares really that same space because you will feel good when you're grateful for what you have, and then you will feel abundant for having it. And so that should be a really good Thanksgiving message, but a message also get out that little gratitude jar or just write every single day at the end of the day, I am grateful for. Okay. And in the beginning, it'll be the same couple of three things, but later, different days are going to little other little grateful things. And you're just going to feel good with enough because, as you know, Dawn, in retail, there's never enough. There's always another sale and there's always more to buy. And I mean, I just don't have to tell you, and you know how all these, I love buying online. And all these online stores keep on sending me better and better. And of course, all the algorithms are going exactly to what I buy and know exactly the style I love and exactly the brand I wear. And boom, there's always another sale. So you have to literally chill and say, do I really need that? Why? Okay. What is the purpose of that? Because I want it? Not good enough. Do I need it? Okay. Sometimes you can want it and not need it. You don't have to be hard on yourself all the time. But the bottom line is to appreciate what you have. When you appreciate it, you feel abundant. So don't work for chicklets. It doesn't matter. Okay. It really doesn't.
Well, I think you bring up so many valuable points, especially about this time of year, is understanding what real value means.
Mhm.
And a lot of times people are looking for a deal,
Mhm.
and there is no deal when it comes to relationships or emotions. And the little things that someone has a hard time even acquiring mean so much more. A lot of times I'd go to an older relative's house and they were just modest people, just, getting by. But they'd find something, maybe something they made and they'd give it to you. Something
Sure.
that was handed down and wouldn't have any real value on the street, but was, hey, it was their great grandparents and they want you to have it. And it makes you feel special that you were anointed with this gift. Or just someone who said, hey, here's a cookie. I made them just a little while ago. I'd love to see what you thought of them. And not giving it to you, but sharing them with you, where you participated in receiving it because how you receive it has a lot to do with the gift. If you say, "Oh, it's just a cookie, thanks, appreciate it," versus, "Oh, that was such a delicious cookie," because it meant so much to the giver. You have an obligation to make them feel like they did the right thing. And sometimes a person of modest means feels intimidated giving somebody something who has a lot because they think, well, they won't care about this. They have so much of this, and this is so small. But that's not the point. Someone who gives their last penny, that's 100% of what they have. Somebody gives you $1 million out of a billion, well, it's a lot of money, but it's not going to put them in a bad position. So before we run out of time, Harvey does thank us again. Great show today, always fantastic. Share and learn from my friends. I'm off to do my show now. Speak soon. Uh, Petra has a comment. I always think 3 times before I purchase anything. I guess I'm just not going to purchase diamonds or jewelry. I'd rather a $3.99 pair of earrings. I was never a person who was high maintenance. I'm happy to have less and share the rest with someone. And my wife's just like that. She's got a ring that came from her great-grandmother, and it's huge. It's got these 2 big 2+ carat diamonds in the ring, but she also wears another ring that I think she picked it up somewhere, but because she has that one ring, everybody thinks the other ring is real too.
Sure.
And so, I think what's most important is do what's good for you. Good what Don't show off. Don't buy something just to keep up. And I think there's a lot of neighborhoods that everybody gets together and pretty soon everybody's got to have what everybody else had, and they just kind of chasing their tail most of the time versus really being happy. And one thing you can tell is if you ever downsize, you really start to understand how much stuff you got, because typically, in our marriage, we started out with a small house and then eventually got a bigger one. And then ultimately, Anne got to get her own dream house. And it was no holds barred and whatever you think. And it was whatever you think. But after a while, it was way too big for us. And we decided, hey, let's just get to a place where it's easy to maintain and we're not dealing with a lot of stuff. And I couldn't believe the boxes we had, stuff from 30 years ago we never opened, and clothes and this and that. It makes you like, I'm never shopping again, you know, after going through this. So you never know what you need until you really get to that point. And I think abundance is something that you can realize very early if it's not based on materialism. If you want peace of mind, if you want knowledge, if you want good company, listening to quality music costs you nothing today. Before you used to have to buy an album and you have to put it on a record player. Now you just download it and you got anything you want and blah, blah, blah. I'm speaking to the choir. But yeah, we're over an hour now, and it's kind of funny. We got a little bit of a slow start, but it turned out to be a fantastic show. Harvey was a surprise guest. Beverly always on her toes, never misses a beat. And it makes me more comfortable knowing I'm with professionals and people who are really quality people. And if that's all there was, the show justifies itself. And when it spreads to the audience, and then when it spreads to the future audience, there's huge value. So, with that, I want to thank everybody. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Be moderate if you possibly can, or if you just want to let go for a day and eat to your heart's content, that's okay too. So, just want to care so much about all of you. Want to thank Beverly.
Thank
Beverly,
you.
any last words you might have for the audience? And
Yes, if anyone wants to reach me, reinventimpossible.com. You can also find me right here on LinkedIn in my profile, and you can sign up for self-coaching tips. And I want to wish everybody a very, very, very abundant week. Try that gratitude jar. It's fun. It's nothing else. Take
love
care.
that idea, Beverly. Thank you so much. And